We are asked, which of the following numbers can be used to show that if the product of two integers is positive, their sum is not always positive? So pause this video and see if you can figure this out. And you just have to pick one of these choices. Okay, now let's do it together. So we want to show that if the product of two integers is positive, that their sum is not always positive. So what we want to do is actually find two numbers that would be a counterexample to someone who's saying if the product is positive, then the sum is positive as well. And so what we want to do is look at these choices. And first of all, if these choices don't meet this first condition, that the product of the two integers is positive, then it's not going to be useful for showing the counterexample, so we can rule that out. And then we have to see if it meets the first condition, that it also shows that the sum is not positive. So let's do this. So 5 and 5, so they're both integers. And so 5 times 5 is equal to 25. So that's positive. The product of the two integers is positive, so it meets that first condition. Their sum is not always positive. The sum here, 5 plus 5, is equal to 10. So this is a situation where the sum is positive. So this wouldn't be a counterexample if someone thought that, hey, maybe when the product is positive, the sum is always positive. So this wouldn't help us for showing that the sum is not always positive. So rule that out. So 5 and negative 5. So let's multiply them first. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. So that doesn't meet our first condition. The first condition says if the product of the two integers is positive. Here, the product of the two integers are not positive. So it's not going to help us to try to show the counterexample that the sum is not always positive. So rule that out. 1 and 25. 1 times 25 is indeed positive. So it meets the first condition. But the sum, 1 plus 25, well, that's positive as well. That's going to be 26. And so this won't be able to show that the sum is not always positive. All right, negative 1 and 25. Well, if we multiply negative 1 times 25, you get negative 25. So it doesn't even meet the first condition, that if the product of the two integers is positive. Here, the product isn't positive, so let's rule that out. And so it's probably going to be E, but let's test it out. So on the first condition, we take the product, negative 5 times negative 5. That is indeed equal to 25. So that shows that this is a situation where the product of the two integers is positive. And now let's look at the sum. Negative 5 plus negative 5 is going to be equal to negative 10. And so this is the counterexample. This shows that the sum is not always positive, even if the product is positive. So this is doing exactly what we set out to do.